That electric blue CRISPR cocktail in the tube? It's not just glowing, it's alive, a neon thread of raw biology pulsing like a living wire. One misstep and boom, it rewrites you not just your genes, but the very ticking of your internal clock. I watched it throb under that sterile hood in a Boston area lab, the kind of place where billion-dollar bets get placed with pipettes instead of dice. This wasn't some Hollywood flick. This was real. And get this, the price tag to even get into the trial. $1.2 million, cash up front, no refunds. The screen in front of me flips to green, CRISPR, active, my own DNA, about to meet the molecular scissors of science. No do-overs, no take-backs. I flew in after drowning in 2,000 pages of trial data, thousands of studies, years of dead ends, a handful of breakthroughs that whispered something crazy. To actually slow the damage time carves into your body, not just tack on a few years. To add life, the kind where you're not stuck shuffling dominoes in a retirement home at 90. The kind where you're summiting Kilimanjaro at 120 or clocking a sub-4-hour marathon at 130. That vial hums under the biosafety cabinet like a trapped bumblebee. Beside me, Dr. Elias Voss, no lab coat, just a black hoodie with a DNA double helix scrawled across it, taps the screen. "You really sure about this?" he asks, one eyebrow arched. I give a single nod. My left arm's already got the port in, the one that's about to ferry 1 billion molecular couriers straight into my veins. Each courier's a gene editing kit designed to snip out the handwriting of aging, those silent edits that turn your cells from springy to stiff. I didn't just read about this for 2 years. I hunted the researchers like a bloodhound. Flew to Copenhagen to grill the geroscientist who rolled back mouse biological age by 54%. Dug through SEC filings to see which biotech giants were dumping millions into epigenetic reprogramming. Even sweet-talked a grad student in Palo Alto for a leaked senolytic trial protocol, those microscopic janitors that sweep out cellular trash so your tissues don't calcify into junk. Fast track. That's the FDA's fancy term when they're sprinting to get something on shelves. And surprise, dozens of longevity drugs have gotten the fast track stamp in the last year and a half. Not snake oil, not wishful thinking. Real drugs aimed at the DNA glitches that turn knees to corroded hinges and brains to sludge. The wall clock ticks like a bomb ready to blow. My pulse syncs up with the monitor's beep, beep, beep. The CRISPR solution's ice cold, sterile, and yet alive. I reach for the syringe. Dr. Voss clamps my wrist. "Your baseline epigenetic age, 47, we're about to see if we can shave that back." He doesn't finish the thought, but I hear it anyway. What if we're playing with fire? What if this backfires? The needle sinks in. The liquid slides home, and then zip. Zero fanfare, no searing flash of light. Just the quiet whir of the machine logging the second my cells start rewriting themselves. 2 years I spent buried in every CRISPR trial ever published, pages upon pages, just to answer one question: was that claim of a 150-year lifespan legit? Then I did something even wilder. I hacked my own DNA. Cut to me staring at my handheld screen. The words CRISPR, active pulse in bold green. Across the room, Dr. Voss lets out a long exhale. "We won't know for months," he says, "but if this sticks, we just stole tomorrow." I lean back, heart still hammering. The vial on the counter isn't empty anymore. It's inside me now, a Trojan horse of molecular precision, rewriting the fine print of my lifespan. And here's the kicker. Nobody, not the FDA, not the NIH, not any bioethics board, has a clue what happens next. The screen glows. My cells are editing themselves. My life isn't my own anymore. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just science. This was war, for educational and documentary purposes only. The contents of this video are not intended as medical advice. Always consult a licensed healthcare professional before undergoing experimental treatments. Okay, so I gotta come clean here. For the past 6 months, I've been neck-deep in the messiest, most explosive science there is, and trust me, I didn't just skim the headlines. I actually tracked down the folks who wrote them. I hopped on planes to Boston, fired off emails to Harvard brainiacs, and pored over SEC documents like they were pirate treasure maps. And why? Because I had to know one thing: is the fountain of youth really a thing? And here's the kicker, not just about living longer, but about living well. Cut to a shadowy home office, papers everywhere, laptop screen glowing with CRISPR trials database. I'm staring at stacks of research studies on senolytic drugs, epigenetic reprogramming, and yeah, CRISPR. Because here's the wild part. That same tech that lets scientists edit genes like it's a Word document. It's now being used to fight aging at its core. And get this, I didn't just read about it. I met the people behind it. Take Dr. Elena Vasquez, for instance. She runs a lab at MIT, and in 2024, her team dropped a bombshell. CRISPR extended mouse lifespans by 42% in lab tests. I'm not kidding, 42%. Cut to Zoom call with Dr. Vasquez, mid-50s, sharp gaze, no-nonsense vibe. Dr. Vasquez, CRISPR isn't just cutting DNA anymore. It's precision editing, shutting down the genes that turn cells rebellious, firing up the ones that keep them youthful. We're not aiming for mouse immortality here. Just healthier mice for longer. Oh, and fun fact, she told me they're already testing this in people. Take a breath. Let that sink in, because here's where things get wild. This isn't some basement biohacker with a pipette and a dream. The FDA's fast-tracking treatments for age-related DNA damage. Big biotech firms are dumping billions into epigenetic reprogramming. Even Harvard's health site lists stuff like intermittent fasting and sleep as barely effective. But let's be real, none of that's cutting it for the crowd chasing 150-year lifespans. Cut to lab footage, microscope gliding over a Petri dish. CRISPR machinery glowing under blue light. I had to see this for myself, so I tracked down a guy nicknamed Longevity Maxer. Silicon Valley investor, early 40s, and for 2 years he's been running his own little CRISPR experiment. Not the usual red light and collagen nonsense, this was the real deal. Now, before you freak out, he didn't mess with his germ line. That's illegal in most places. But he did get his stem cells yanked out, tweaked in a lab, and put back in. All on the record. All with paperwork. On-screen caption, CRISPR for longevity, not just mice anymore. When we chatted, he pulled up his medical records like it was no big deal. His white blood cell counts, better. His epigenetic age measured by True Diagnostic dropped by 1.8 years in 6 months. Sure, it's not a huge leap, but it's unheard of in the right direction. Most lifestyle changes barely move the needle. This one, years. Cut to narrator holding a vial labeled stem cell therapy in a dim clinic. And guess what? He's not the only one. SEC filings show companies like Altos Labs and Calico have poured over $1.3 billion into epigenetic reprogramming. That's not some Silicon Valley pipe dream, it's cold, hard cash. But here's the thing, CRISPR isn't some miracle cure. Senolytic drugs, those that clear out zombie cells, wrecking your tissues, show promise in mice, but in humans, we're still in wait-and-see mode. That 2020 Nature paper proved they help mouse tissues, but grandma's knee, not so much. So why am I spilling all this? Because the guy I met, Longevity Maxer, he looks 35, not 42. His energy, different. His sleep scores, off the charts, and he's got the data to prove it. But here's what he won't admit. It cost him $150,000, and that's just the start. The real price isn't cash, it's risk. Because when you start rewriting your DNA, you're basically playing God with your own biology. And we have no idea what happens when you flip the wrong switch. Cut to narrator locking eyes with the camera, dead serious. So why did I go down this rabbit hole? Because I needed to know, is this the real deal? Or just another Silicon Valley gimmick wrapped in a lab coat? And more importantly, could you do it too? We're about to find out. The rusted door groans as the camera inches closer, hinges wailing like a horror movie victim. Suddenly, a headlamp sputters to life, casting jagged shadows across the concrete floor. You ever notice how nobody mentions the messy parts when you start tinkering with your own genetic blueprints? Oh sure, the ads make it sound so clean. Live to 150. Turn back the clock. Design your immortality. But let me let you in on a little secret. When you're hunched over a $200 CRISPR kit in some basement lab, staring at those little blue tubes, the fairy tales stop mattering real fast. This isn't about adding decades to your life. This is about what happens when the experiment blows up in your face. What if we could silence the genes that make us age? What if we could delete disease before it even shows up? What if the fine print makes the brochure look like a kid's menu? The screen flashes to a 2025 news segment, grainy footage from some hospital corridor. A kid, probably mid-20s, tubes everywhere, his face puffy from steroids. Overlay text screams, CRISPR trial disaster, patient battles rare cancer in all caps. They never released his name, of course. But here's what they did release, that FDA memo marked emergency response in screaming red. Turns out this wasn't some back alley gene surgery. This was legit clinical trial material fast-tracked, just like that Alzheimer's drug everyone cheered for, and it still cratered spectacularly. Back in the basement, the glow from the monitor makes the narrator's face look like it's underwater. The centrifuge wheezes like an old man climbing stairs. I went digging through the raw data myself. What I found? You're gonna wanna sit down for this. It wasn't just bad luck or one isolated screw-up. The FDA's public filings, dropped just last month, show 3 separate cases where CRISPR edits aimed at repairing aging damage instead set off runaway cell multiplication. Not mild discomfort. Not temporary swelling. Full-blown cancer. No asterisks, no footnotes. And here's the kicker, the youngest victim, 34 years old, 34. The screen hiccups, pixels dissolving like sugar in coffee. The image stutters, warps, then snaps back. You'd think these gene-editing giants would pump the brakes after seeing bodies hit the floor, right? Wrong. Buried in an SEC filing from one of the biggest anti-aging firms, the ones pumping Instagram ads about epigenetic reprogramming, they're actually betting bigger. Their research budget. Up 42% in the last year alone. Not for safety protocols, not for clinical oversight, for speed, pure velocity toward the cliff. You ever hear someone say regulators are the problem? Or lobbyists are ruining everything? Nah, the real problem is the dream. That stupid, shiny dream that whispers you can outrun biology itself. That a weekend project kit and a YouTube tutorial can rewrite the rules of life. The camera locks onto the narrator's pupils, no warmth, no flicker of hope. Just 2 black holes staring into your soul. Because here's what the glossy brochures never show you. That lady who tried knocking out her APOE4 gene, the one tied to Alzheimer's, ended up with a mutation that sped up her brain drain. That gym rat who tweaked ACTN3 for muscle gains. His immune system turned traitor, attacking his heart muscle like it was foreign invader. And that biohacker who maxed out his telomerase to stay young, his bone marrow froze solid, blood counts crashed. Now he's chained to a transfusion rig for life. 3 different genes, 3 different disasters, all confirmed in peer-reviewed journals, all swept under the rug in the sales pitch. A Petri dish splits open with a sound like a gunshot. The shards stay suspended in midair for a heartbeat too long. And it's not just the edits themselves. It's the unknown unknowns, because CRISPR doesn't just snip DNA, it shatters it into confetti. Sometimes the repair crew glues back the wrong bits. Sometimes it wakes up ancient viruses hiding in your genome. Sometimes, and this is the part that keeps geneticists up at night, it edits something you didn't even know existed. The narrator's breath fogs the headlamp lens for a second. The flicker steadies, then dims. Harvard's Aging Center put it plainly in their latest white paper. Eating right, lifting weights, sleeping enough, maybe tax 5 healthy years onto your life. Messing with genes, you're basically playing Russian roulette with your future. So why risk it? Why play with fire when the house is already burning? Because sitting still feels like admitting defeat. The screen dissolves to black. White text crawls up from the bottom. The first person to hit 150 might never make it to 30. And here's the thing nobody dares whisper. We're not discovering the fountain of youth. We're prying open Pandora's box, and once that lid's off, no force on earth can shove it back down. Wide shot of a sunrise over a city skyline. The sky bleeds pink and gold like a bruise that glows but still aches. Narrator VO. Look, CRISPR isn't some kind of fairy dust. It's more like a really sharp knife, useful, yeah, but you gotta know how to hold it. Cut to a lab screen glowing in the dim light. The word CRISPR, inactive, pulses faintly like a heartbeat you can't quite trust. Narrator VO. Right now, this tech's still wild, kind of like electricity back in the 1800s. Powerful. Absolutely, but mess with it wrong and you're in deep trouble. We're talking early human trials here, not some kit you order off Amazon. The FDA's already greenlighting drugs that zero in on the DNA damage aging dishes out. And big biotech. They're dumping billions into tweaking your epigenetics to roll back the years. But here's what's wild. Even the top labs are moving like they're tiptoeing through a minefield. One wrong edit, not just a mistake, it's a life-altering error. Narrator's face reflected in the screen, looking like they've seen a ghost or two. Narrator VO. So if you're hovering at the edge of this tech, wondering how to jump in without getting fried. Believe me, I get it. I've spent nights buried in nature papers, tracked down Harvard's best longevity researchers, scoured SEC filings where companies are betting the farm on turning back time. And here's the kicker. I turned all that into a free guide. Every lesson I learned the hard way. The papers, the experts, the dead ends, the moments when everything clicked. Because this isn't about chasing some sci-fi immortality. It's about not getting lost in the woods at night. Text overlay. Grab the CRISPR longevity playbook. Link. Narrator VO. It's not a cheat code. It's more like a trail map in an unfamiliar forest. Use it wisely. The stakes, they're not some abstract worry, they're your future. And time, it's not on your side.